You are listening to Hysteria, the podcast that has never reacted too much to anything ever, right?
Ever. Never hysterical.
Never. But if we're upset about something, even if we are more upset than everyone else, eventually we'll be proven right.
Because we're witches.
So have you seen Don't Worry, Darling? Or have you just been following the drama along
I've just been following the drama. I have not seen it yet. It won't come to my neck of the woods for quite some time.
Oh, are you going to take a horse-drawn carriage to the old-fashioned movie theater where they have
probably
like a
correct,
guy
Erin.
playing a piano? Well, I'm really interested and fascinated by the Don't Worry, Darling drama, but it raised some like bigger questions and I really wanted to talk about them as a group. So I'm going to bring on the other two women joining us today. First off, if you haven't read her book, You Sound Like a White Girl Yet, what are you even doing? It's Julissa Arce. Julissa, welcome.
What are you even doing is right, because the book has been out since March, so get on it. I'm doing great. Thank you.
And rounding out the panel today, maybe you watched her on The Dropout or some other critically acclaimed TV show, or maybe you know her voice as a friend of the pod. Michaela Watkins, welcome. Always good to see you.
Oh, it's so good to see you. My dog just barged in. I gotta go. I gotta take care of this. But it's so great to see you. 1 second. Stand by. Two dogs. Hey, guys, out.
Chaos out there.
Out.
Man.
Come on. How'd you open a door? We moved recently. And
How did you open the door?
and this house
You got to leave all this in.
yeah.
Obviously.
The house has like doors that the dogs have figured out how to open.
Apparently, because that door just like opened wide open. It's got a knob that needs to be turned. So I don't know. Listen, it's just a matter of time before the dogs take over, right?
Michaela, I think it's been the longest since we've seen you, so I want to start with you. Have you been following the Don't Worry, Darling drama?
Yeah, I mean, not by choice, because it's like foisted in my face when I'm trying to find out the news events of the world and like about hurricanes and, wars. It's all about Olivia Wilde is trending. And I'm like, why is Olivia Wilde trending? And every single time I just go look because I'm curious to see what horrible things are going to be said about this woman now. Now, listen, what if she is terrible? I have no idea. And neither does like 99.9% of the population. And I just say like tit for tat, if you hold up a man who, I even tweeted this because I just couldn't take it anymore. I was like, all she did from where I'm sitting is have the audacity to fall in love with a guy who's very famous and has a big fan base. Beyond that, I don't think she'd be the target of all of this vitriol. So I don't think the Don't Worry, Darling stuff started with all the, hoo-ha-ha of Don't Worry, Darling. I think it started way back when she's had the audacity to leave an unhappy marriage and start dating somebody and falling in love with somebody new. And I don't think we've ever assaulted or assailed a man for that. I also think it happens because she is a multi-hyphenate. I think because she didn't just stay in her lane of being a little actress and had, the balls to go and start directing her own features and, started with music videos and now features that, the world is like, take her out, take her down. Mm-hmm. And so I watch all of this with this sort of, I don't know anything about, I don't really understand what's happening with her between Pew and whatever. I just know that there's like men who are shitty to each other constantly. And I know this for a fact, and it's never in the headlines. Like I know for a fact that this happens, and it's never, ever, ever in our headlines. Mm-hmm. So there is like a targeting of Olivia Wilde and now this movie. Now, the joke's on everybody else because guess what? This movie apparently opened with crazy box office numbers, and hey, so joke's on everybody else. But that's been my experience, is that I just feel like she is a powerful woman. And when I watch these young 17-year-olds go after her, 16-year-olds or 15-year-olds or Harry Styles fans, like go after her like that, and simultaneously talk about tweets that she's done, 10, 15 years ago as, homophobic or racist or or transphobic or something like that, really twisting them and not seeing all the work that she's done. I just feel like you assailing her is kind of in the same camp. Like you're going to, in 10 years, you're going to be embarrassed about all the horrible things you've said about this woman. Like you're going to be embarrassed by that. So I don't know. That's my take.
Julissa, what are your thoughts on the whole drama?
I did not know about this tweet. Now
No,
I have to
I mean-
find out more.
Yeah,
about
I
what
didn't either.
What did she tweet?
What'd she say?
What did she say?
You know, honestly, it was like, it was so benign. It was dumb things people said 15 years ago, like, I'd be a great lesbian kind of thing. Like, you know, because I wish, things like that, you know.
I had not been following the drama that closely until like more recently. And, you know, I do think that there's a lot of validity to she is a woman and therefore she's been held to a different standard for sure. You know, I think whether it's a woman or a man, like some of the things that people are talking about, like her work ethic, right? About sort of like her and Harry Styles like disappearing and Pugh having to be the one like directing the film and things like, I think that's like unprofessional whether you're a man or a woman, but certainly there's a bigger spotlight on it because she is a woman, you know, and that's it. These things about sort of like misogyny and women being held to double standards, like it shows up in every single industry, in every single time of history. You know, I've been like watching House of Dragons and like all of this made me think about what's going on in House of Dragons and how, you know, the realm won't accept this like woman queen and her chastity is being like questioned and like she has to be pure and she can't have like an affair. But if it was a king, you know, he could have a million affairs and nobody would bat an eye. And so I think that to me, like, I'm not so interested in like Olivia Wilde and this movie and like the drama about this movie because whatever, but I am interested in what it sort of says about our society and how in many ways we've made no progress in how women are treated.
And that is a really good segue to kind of what I wanted to broaden the conversation to, and that is the way that conversations are driven and manipulated by the current state of social media. Like Olivia Wilde and the number of Don't Worry Darling headlines and like the insanity of how frequently they become trending topics reminded me a little bit of the Depp Heard stuff. And it reminded me a little bit about how, you know, as we are processing like viral news stories now, we can't not double negative. We can't not consider the fact that the media environment that we swim in is easy to manipulate. Alyssa, the other week you sent me a story that was kind of like jaw-dropping that kind of touched on issues like that involving the Women's March. Can you kind of walk us through the way that manipulated media, influence campaigns, kind of exploited existing sexism in society and kind of drove the whole thing into the ground?
I just wanted to talk about how Olivia Wilde divorced Ted Lasso, and that's how this whole thing got started.
I don't think they were married. I think they were just like together for a long time and had children together.
So
but they weren't married.
Served papers though. She was
for the
served
custody.
The custody papers.
Okay.
Julissa is right. It's a bad formula for social media when you separate, both of you separate from arguably this man who not in real life but on television has played this lovable, affable, aspirational person. It made me think of when Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston got divorced. It's like, why did anybody really care? It's not that he was divorcing Jennifer Aniston, it's that he was divorcing Rachel Green. We have seen that foreign governments and bots and bad actors all play a part in this so much now, and that we can't take anything as on the level when we read it. When something is trending, it's like, well, why is it trending? Who is making it trend, right? Like articles about Meghan Markle, why are they trending? You know, who's really caring? Are a bunch of people like us retweeting? I have to be honest, any of these articles I have never retweeted. I don't think I even ever like them. And so who's doing it? Who cares so much? And the truth is, bot farms are who cares so much, and they try to sow division specifically in this country by doing that. And it's part of what happened during the Women's March, where they try to sow division, something that was really popular in America that had a lot of women or people galvanized around it, by having articles go viral, by exploiting things that certain founders said, and making them become outsized in terms of really what had been said and what was really happening.
But the quickest people to believe those bot farms were intellectual white men that I know who were saying, well, this is why the Women's March is problematic. And I'm like, stay the fuck out of the Women's March. Like, that's our thing. You know what I mean? And if I as a Jewish woman don't find anti-Semitism, in the top tier, anything that is going to hold me from wanting to be completely embracing this movement and wanting to move forward, then you should just shut up. I'm sorry, I sound so angry about it, but it's just like, let us have our own feelings about it. And guess what? I was always very skeptical about what was coming out about everybody in the Women's March. And I know that there was some friction, but a little friction can be overcome. If it's exploited and put onto the social media and everybody is weighing in on it, then it's really impossible for anybody to overcome that and be like, fine, we're coming together anyway, because we got bigger fish to fry right now. And
it's sort of like it sounds like it just reinforced something that they already wanted to think. Like
that's what I mean.
Yeah, they were like looking for permission to get angry at Olivia Wilde, looking for permission to hate Amber Heard, looking for permission. And sometimes these stories, while the Women's March stuff, there are some kind of troubling aspects to what drove the Women's March apart. But the way that those aspects were amplified and magnified, it was sort of like an alley-oop, like our own isms, our own sexism, racism, xenophobia, like was the pass, and then the bots were the slam dunk, and that just makes me think, I think we need to be very aware of the ways that our conversations are being like manipulated, or by the ways that they can be manipulated.
The thing that I found really shocking about some of those articles that Alyssa, you had sent, is that how orchestrated these campaigns are. Like when I used to think of like bots, I really used to think it's like some sort of like algorithm, some sort of like computer thing, but there's like actual real people, who are like sitting in front of a computer making making profiles, retweeting things. Like there are entire like campaigns that are organized that it says this group of people is gonna take this aspect of it, you're gonna take this other aspect. Just how well organized these campaigns to smear, to sow disinformation, to sow distrust, just how organized they are.
It's an industry.
It's an industry, and how much money is put behind it. Like that was really shocking to me. Like it's not just this little algorithm. Like it's people, it's companies that are paid to make these things happen. And how little we know about it. I don't think that I understood the magnitude of how deep the problem is until I read these articles.
Michaela, what were you about to say?
Oh, I mean, similar is that that there are real people in these bot farms, but also what I think you said so perfectly, Erin, is that they are so quick to believe it. And all of a sudden I'm like, why is it that you're not somebody who's talking and promoting the Women's March and all that did, but you're very quick to comment and have an opinion on what's, a problem with it? Like, why is your investment in this as a liberal man? Why is your investment in this in the problems and not in what is actually working? And, there's this Lord of the Rings series or whatever that's come out. They have such a problem on Amazon where they had to pull the reviews because people were swarming it and taking it down before anybody even saw it. Rotten Tomatoes has a real issue with
it's called review bombing,
where there's an implicit bias against women. And according to Miranda Bailey, She found that 80% of Rotten Tomato reviews by top critics were written by men. But there is a review online forum called Cherry Picks, which is really amazing because that's all, it's all women who are doing all of the sourcing and all of the reviewing.
Well, I was just going to say to Julissa's point is they're also so well written, like they're so targeted and so well, like some of these tweets and these messages and these posts on social media, like I have retweeted things that I later found out, and I'm a discerning retweeter. Like I read, I do the, and it was like, oh my God, no, this is fake. Or like they twisted one word that you wouldn't realize that one word changed what it actually meant. And I was like, oh my God. And it turned out it was, it was a targeted campaign to get liberals to get mad about something. And that wasn't turned out to be true. And that's a coordinated effort and industry.
Talking about like the industry around, I mean, it's not always like, oh, Vladimir Putin wants to take down Olivia Wilde. I don't think anybody is suggesting that. But I think anytime there's a lot of money at stake, and when somebody's brand is their entire livelihood, and there's a lot of money going around, I think that creates an incentive for people to try to enlist the help of a bot farm or an influence campaign in order to get whatever they want accomplished. So one thing where this is very funny, when Justice League, the Snyder Cut was released, the reporters looked into the tweet campaign that was aimed at Warner Brothers executives, and they found that they were clearly part of some kind of coordinated influence campaign. And there's been some people looking into whether or not Zack Snyder, the director, was in some way affiliated with the hashtag release the Snyder Cut. But it's, there's no smoking gun there, but it's pretty widely believed that he had something to do with it. In a place like Hollywood, in an entertainment industry, or in a place like the publishing industry, like fake influence campaigns like make a huge difference. I'm curious, Julissa, are there any like news stories that have happened that you're like, why is this so viral, or why is this person so popular, that have kind of stuck out to you as seeming like they've been manipulated in some way?
Yeah, I mean, I often think that like even this like Olivia Wilde thing, it's still sort of to me like mind-boggling that like so many people are talking about it, that there's been so many articles written about it, that every time I open up my Twitter there is like so much conversation going on about it. So yeah, I think that all the time I wonder, like, how does something go viral? Why do people care so much about this thing? But to me, like, the really dangerous part about all of this is sort of that it's still sort of about like discrediting women. It's about I really think that like ultimately it's about taking away our rights, because if people don't like respect us, if people don't view us as capable of directing a movie, as capable of being president of the United States, as capable of being the vice president of the United States, like if people continue to kind of minimize what we are capable of, then it's a lot easier to then come and take away our rights. And to me, that's like the really dangerous parts of these types of stories that go viral, and that people put so much emphasis on, that there's so much money behind the campaigns, whether they're positive or negative. But I do find that when it comes to stories about women, the majority of those stories tend to be negative. When they go viral, like, we're not going viral for positive things. We're not going viral for having accomplished things, or for being, for directing the best movie ever.
Exactly.
Like, we're going viral for all negative things. And I think that the end goal of all of that is to take away our rights.
Yeah. Like, I think Olivia Wilde should have called herself the Olivia Wilde brothers.
That's very funny. Because then there would be like entire devoted factions of fanboys that would like just obsessively talk about Olivia Wilde brothers movies as though that was the height of culture. I want to talk a little bit about Meghan Markle and the apparent ways that bots and influence campaigns have been used to kind of unleash racism on her. Alyssa, you're sort of our resident royalist. What do you make of all the hate that Meghan Markle gets on social media?
It's actually pretty funny when you think about everybody wants a villain, right? Everybody's always kind of like trying to find like who's the villain. And when she first started dating Harry, everyone was like, this is amazing. Look how woke the monarchy is. And it turns out the monarchy, not so much. And I think that, you know, there were people, what's his name? That fucking loser in the UK.
Which one?
Piers Morgan.
Yeah.
Piers Morgan. You know, he made her public enemy. He tried to make her public enemy number one. And in the same way that we have Fox News here, he had his loyal listeners there, and he just, everything that he criticized her for was some sort of like coded, gross shit. Like he was trying to be like, oh, she's not respectful, but it was always why was she not respectful? Oh, because she spoke her mind about something, you know, because she had an opinion about something. And I think that, you know,
and she's mixed race and she had an opinion about something. And
right. And now she's a royal. Oh, you guys, Norman is here. Norm Chunk. Just gave him his medicine. Now he wants to play on the podcast. There is a view of what someone who is royal should look like, and they should give up everything that they ever cared about, and they should just, you know, just be in service of the crown. And that really, really fucking bothered Piers Morgan. And I think in the same way here that we see that truly disgusting things go viral when people with big platforms say them, you know, he was kind of cover for it, right? Him and what's that horrible paper there, The Sun, the one that's always saying terribly uncool things.
The mirror, The Sun. Yeah,
there's a lot of bad ones.
But it's like
there.
if you look at everything that has gone viral, there's someone who gives it cover. Right? Like Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. He had so many followers. Now, they didn't do all of this, but it was like, oh, he's really famous. It makes you think, if you're an average person who's not on social media, you're like, oh, these are his people. Like, they're all, you know, and
this must be a huge deal.
This must be a huge deal. And like with Meghan Markle, it's like, well, Piers Morgan, like he feels this way. And so there must be something to it. And it's like they give these bad actors cover to do it, because it makes sort of, if you want to think about it, sort of makes sense if you want it to make sense.
Right. Well, it's chicken and egg thing though, too, right? Like just reading a little bit before we get to you, Michaela, of some stats about Meghan Markle and why she's like such a villain. 114,000 tweets that were related to Harry and Meghan were analyzed by Bot Sentinel. And the Bot Sentinel, which does analytics for Twitter, identified 83 accounts that it says were behind 70% of the really, really awful anti-Meghan tweets. There's only 83 accounts that were behind most of the really grossly anti-Sussex tweets. The accounts had more than 187,000 combined followers and had the reach of 17 million Twitter users. So if you're Piers Morgan or somebody who like works in the media, you are you're perpetuating the cycle, but you're also like taking a look at social media and saying like, oh, this is what people are interested in. I am going to cash in on this thing that people are interested in, which causes there to be more amplification of the story, which causes it like makes something that isn't real become real when media figures buy in and amplify it. Michaela, sorry, I interrupted you. I just wanted to get that.
No, you didn't at all. And actually that is actually a good basis for this not so interesting thing I'm about to say, which is I did not watch a single clip of the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial. And I kind of didn't because they're two people having an ugly divorce. So I genuinely don't care. And also from the side, you know, chatter that I was hearing from friends and whatnot about it, it just sounds like two people who are a little mildly or to majorly dysfunctional. And we're talking about, you know, very wealthy people who have very wealthy problems. And so I even more don't really care. My point is that I was sitting at dinner with two men, from work, and they were saying like, "Oh my God, are you following the trial?" And I said, "No." I said, "But the whiffs of it that I'm getting is that it's incredibly misogynistic, that everybody is so ready to hate Amber Heard and so not ready to be mad at Johnny Depp, who has made rape jokes. Like, I don't understand where this incredible vitriol at this woman is coming from. I mean, it's incredible how much vitriol is coming at this woman." And they both kind of like tilted their head a little to the right and looked at me puzzled, as if they never stopped to consider that even these lovely, talented, very clever men were so ready to be swept up in the wave of Amber sucks and Johnny's cool. And they just kind of stopped. And I'm not kidding. When the verdict dropped and the media went silent on it because there's nothing else to say because Johnny Depp sort of won, then the quiet little voices came out in favor of Amber, saying she was really annihilated in the media. And now all these people were like, "Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. I think so too. I think so too." I'm like, where the hell were all these people, you know?
Well, it's intimidating, right? Like, you see every single thing about the trial coming out, and you see, as like an average person, a commentator, a public figure, or just a person, you see all of these opinions that are like, "Yeah, fuck this lady." And you're just sort of like, you know what? I do not want to stick my proverbial dick in this hornet's nest. You know, like, I'm just going to like let this pass and not say anything. Like the Daily Wire, which is a conservative news site, news I'm using very loosely, spent tens of thousands of dollars to promote news stories about the Depp Heard trial. Like, why are they spending, tens of thousands of dollars on this? Why are they putting up Facebook and Instagram ads about the Depp Heard trial? Like, it's for clout. They were exploiting the sexism of like the audience on Facebook and Instagram for clout. And that's who was like helping to kind of fluff this story, if you will. Julissa, I'm going to let you get the last word in on this topic before we take a quick break. What do you think is to be done as we see stories, like bad stories go bad viral about women? Like, how do we as news consumers be more responsible?
Yeah. I mean, I think that is the thing, is that we have to be more responsible, right? Like, we have to take the time to not just retweet something without like clicking on it and reading what the article actually says. And I think that sometimes, especially when it comes to like famous rich people, like we forget that like there are actual real people, and like I think sometimes it's so much easier to be mean or to say something mean about someone who you feel like you're never going to meet. You don't know them. They almost don't feel like real human beings. And so it's easy to kind of be desensitized to their feelings. But I think the bigger thing is that, all of these stories, whether it's, Meghan Markle and not only the misogyny that she has faced, but the racism that she has faced, whether it's Olivia Wilde getting criticized at the same time that like, if she was running off with Harry Styles, how come nobody's saying anything about Harry Styles' professionalism as an actor, right? So like all of these stories, especially the ones that involve both a man and a woman, they're very double-sided. And even if you don't care about the actual people involved, there is a bigger implication for like society at large, because whether we like it or not, like these people, media, all of these things do influence culture, and culture influences policy. And so I think we have to just be really thoughtful about the implications in some of these things, and just be really thoughtful about, do I really want to contribute to this thing going viral, right? Do I want to retweet it, or do I have to say something? Like, do I have to send that tweet, or is this just something that I can just think and like move on?
Right. That is such good advice for life, just in general. Every single tweet. I used to have an
the answer is only if it's really, really funny.
Yeah,
exactly.
really,
or
really
has
funny.
animals.